when you go to jail, it's the same thing, right? You
Red money, red money.
Yo, Land's dirty as hell.
Hello.
All right, what's up, y'all? It is Tap In Thursday. We have a special guest today, Tewhan. Oh my gosh, the America's Massacre, the one and only. Like, I don't even know how to introduce you for real. You introduce yourself.
I mean, it ain't really that much to it. You know, my name is Tewhan Butler. The streets call me Mass. You know, I wrote a couple of books, America's Massacre, and so I'm perceived as though I'm that thing. However, America's Massacre speaks for a lot more. Opposed to my story, it speaks for the story with respects to urban society in the bottom half of America, right? The poverty that we deal with, the broken homes that we deal with, the mental health struggles that we deal with, the financial struggles that we deal with. And so, you know, so that people get a clear understanding that America's Massacre is a lot more than just myself personally. It's a story about all of us. So, you know, hopefully the people, you know, they'll grab a hold of my book, or they get a full understanding and they can see the correlation between myself and their self, and we could find a better way to get about the circumstances in which we're in.
Right. I first want to welcome you home. For those that don't know, you were sentenced to 30 years, right?
Yes.
But you
Yes.
served how much?
23 years.
23. When did you come home? September?
I came home September 3rd, 2025. Yeah.
That's crazy. So how does it feel? Like, what was the first thing that really, when you stepped out of that, being in jail, incarcerated that long, coming home to this world now?
I mean, when I got out there, you know, when they released, of course, leading up into that situation in which I was released, I had faced the situation prior to, back in like 2005. I had went to trial, and I beat the trial. And when I beat the trial, you know, the judge is like, you know, you're free to go. And in that particular moment, the prosecutor stood up and was like, yo, you know, when we have a federal detainer, we can't release him. So what I know what it's like to be that close to freedom and then get snatched back in. So leading up into my release this time, I was a little bit nervous, right? Because it's like, okay, cool, I could get that close to the door and then they could trap me off again. And so when they finally opened the doors and the gates opened, you know, and my family was there, it was just a beautiful thing for me. Like, it was something refreshing for myself, you know, to be able to get back in tune with my people. And I felt like it was more of a blessing to be able to give myself back to my people, right? So it was something that was beyond measure and something that's kind of like really unexplainable, you know?
Right. So what does freedom look like to you? Like, what is it? What does it feel like? What is it like? What does it mean to you right now, being that you are halfway free, as we say? You know, you are on what, ankle monitor. So so is that considered your freedom, or like do you still feel locked up? I mean, either way you go, you beat the odds. You home, you outside.
Yeah, I mean, you know, according to how the streets tell it, I'm really not outside, right? Because the streets, when they outside, right? So I have yet to really be outside. However, I think that according to my reality, I know more so what it's like to not have freedom than what it is to have freedom, right? And the reason why I say that is because prior to myself going to prison, you know, I was in the streets, you know, I was gang banging, I was hustling. And even though my life was a party, I gotta watch over my shoulder for oppositions, the police. And so you have so many limitations of where you can go, how you can do this, you know, how you can operate. And so then when you go to jail, it's the same thing, right? You got COs looking over you, so you have so much limited freedom. So that was majority of my life. So now that I've come home at the age of 46, it's a situation where it's like, damn, I'm not breaking law no more. You know, I'm not looking to really be outside. right?
Right, right.
But yet and still, I have a certain degree of restriction on me that I didn't have prior. So, but to answer your question,
Right.
to have freedom, it's a blessing, right? It's a beautiful thing. I get to wake up in the morning. I can grab my phone if I want to. I can hug and kiss my mother if I want to. I could fraternize with my kids. I could fraternize with my family members. My peers. So opposed to 15-minute phone calls or my family members or friends coming to visit me and the CEOs turning them around, or you could sit this close but you can't touch. So even though I'm restricted as far as the bracelet, what I can do, where I can go, and how I can do it, I still feel like I'm a lot more blessed because I understand what the people that's still inside are going through.
Yeah, I feel that, because I feel like people that have not been incarcerated, they would never know the struggle of not having that type of freedom for that type of a day is too long, an hour is too long to be locked up. But to be behind the walls and you can't pick up that phone and call, or move how you want to move, or get where you. I felt that, and I'm a female, and I've been locked up from 2012 to now like 7 times, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But the longest time was this last time, and I felt like them 14 months killed me, bro. I was in there like, oh, I ain't never going back to and have nobody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what was life like for me. I would never want someone to go through that. So I feel for the people that are behind bars and incarcerated, for real.
Sure.
As I should, right? So what was life before going in for 23? Was that your first sentence? Or when did you go to jail? Because you're 46 and you did. So when did you go to prison?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because actually they just narrowed it all down. Life for me before I went to prison was it was a party, right? I was somebody who was deemed as somebody, right? So I kind of had life my way, right? Whatever I wanted to do, I did, right? And so I kind of felt like the world was my oyster. I didn't really have no restrictions, no limitations. If I wanted to travel, I can travel. Though I didn't travel, but because my mind was so clouded and it was so like my vision was so minimized, right?
Yeah,
so
it was like this, like
my entire world was my neighborhood, right? But when I stepped out into my neighborhood, it was like this is everything. Because when I come outside, it's like, okay, that's mad. So let's, we going to tap in with bro, or we going. So it's like I didn't really need it, but I gotta grab out of the streets, and then I could just kind of like do away with everything. And my first instinct was the best instinct, but I dismissed that. And so I stuck around until my birthday, and that night, 12 o'clock hit. It's a party. Everybody's outside. We having fun, we drinking, we doing what we doing. And I'm like, you know what, let's just go right here to this spot right here. And we got to that location, maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and 5 o'clock in the morning, they was kicking my door and they was locking me up. And I hadn't seen the streets.
Oh my God, they seen my ass, look.
I could, we could point a bunch of fingers, you see what I'm saying? But I don't want to do that and make it seem like that's really what I'm on right now, because it really was my fault, right? Because I knew better. I should have did better. But again, I came to jail on my 23rd birthday, and I came home on September 3rd. My birthday is October the 1st, so I came home actually about 20-something days before my 46th birthday.
So you did 20, yeah, damn.
23 years.
So how did you get into that lifestyle? Like what before the 23 and 23 back? Like what was your upbringing? Not, October 1st, boom, you born, you got in the streets when? When did you jump off the porch? What made you be in the streets? Like, and then you were the leader, right? Am I saying double? Say it, double.
Allegedly.
Look, allegedly. Allegedly the leader of a double. What did double two say?
Double I.
Double I. I thought that, but I.
It's